Hello, and welcome to Law Talk. My name is John Celebrezzi, and I'm the co-founder of the Celebrezzi-Zangi Community Legal Education Project, as we call it, CZ-CLEP for short. Our organization provides continuing education about the judiciary and legislature to attorneys, judges, government officials, and the general public. As a career educator, I recognize early on how important legal matters are and how they impact our lives. I am the nephew of the late Anthony J. Celebrezzi, who was the popular 5-term mayor of Cleveland and a member of President Kennedy's cabinets. As a tribute to his lifetime commitment to the legal process, we dedicate this show.
John's guest today is Teresa Barrington. Teresa was born in Detroit, Michigan in 1963. She was admitted to the bar in 1966. She was also admitted to practice before U.S. District Court of Northern Ohio. Her education was the University of Akron, a B.S. Elementary Education 1991, and her legal education was the University of Akron, Juris Doctorate 1996. Staff attorney for Medina County Court of Common Pleas, Probate and Juvenile Divisions 1966-1999. Magistrate, Medina County Court of Common Pleas, Juvenile Division 2003-2005. She is currently in private practice. She is also a volunteer for the Mock Trial Advisor at Buckeye High School from 2007 to date, and was Community Legal Aid Medina County Volunteer of the Year 2007. She is also a member of the Medina County Bar Association.
Teresa, welcome to Law Talk.
Hi, thank you for having me.
I understand you've been a pretty busy person this week.
I sure have.
You just came off a trial, right?
Finished today.
Divorce trial?
Yes, it was.
Okay. Actually, a trial in family law, almost all law for that matter, is kind of the pinnacle, right? I mean, most things get settled out before an actual trial happens.
In family law,
yeah,
you're talking about? Usually, when you're talking about a divorce case,
yeah,
yes.
Okay.
Most of the time, it'll be settled before it ever reaches trial. It didn't happen.
Okay, so obviously, you had to go to the mat on this one.
Yes.
Judge heard testimony from both sides, your witnesses, other guy's witness?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, she did.
All right, now that she has all that information, we've had Judge Kovac on our show. About how long would you expect until you'd actually hear the decision?
I don't know.
Really? They all vary?
It varies.
Okay.
Yes,
all
it
right.
does.
So really, as we sit here today, you don't know whether you won or you lost. I mean,
No idea.
Okay.
No idea.
Right. Well, I've had many of your colleagues on, and you know, we always talk about the trial as the pinnacle, and when you get to that point, that's when the adrenaline's flowing. So, okay, well, let's tone it down a little bit. We're not going to talk about trials the whole show, but because you did a trial today, I figured I didn't want to pass that up. Okay, so we'll get down to a little bit more, you know, a little more vanilla stuff, okay?
Okay.
Now, when a person, I got some notes I got for you. When a person reaches the point, we're going to talk about divorce for a little bit, when divorce is a serious option, in other words, one or both of the parties they're thinking about it.
Right.
It's not unusual for a visit to a lawyer to happen, and I'm sure you've had, how many years have you been practicing law?
I've been a lawyer for 15 years.
Okay, so you've had this happen to you on more than one
Right,
occasion.
right.
Somebody comes to see you, and they've got questions.
Yes.
Okay, that initial contact, meeting in your office, I'm curious from a attorney's perspective, Teresa, not necessarily the client. We'll talk about the client later on. But you must ask a few questions as well, right?
Oh, absolutely.
So, I mean, you have pretty much an agenda because you're sorting out what we got here, right?
Right. Well, it's really important when a client first comes to meet you and they're inquiring about a divorce. There's so many different things that are happening in their lives at that time. You might have somebody coming to see you that is just completely devastated, very emotional, very upset,
Sure.
and may have been taken completely by surprise by surprise rather, with the news that their spouse wants a divorce.
I see.
Sometimes they're just served with divorce papers and didn't know.
That would be bad.
Right, and so you sometimes have a very emotional client that you're dealing with, and they haven't brought anything with them at all. So you really just need to find out all about their situation, how long they've been married, what's happening
so
at home.
those type of questions that I'm going to ask you a few examples in a minute or so, but were this hypothetical, a prospective client has turned up, is visiting with you, first time you met them, maybe this person really, maybe they were mentally preparing for it, maybe not. Maybe they got served and the first thing you do is go find a lawyer.
Right.
It's possible they just found you in the phone book or referred to by a friend.
Sure.
All right. I guess I don't expect you to give us all, but I'm really curious now from a professional's point of view. You're trying to sort this out. Give me a few key questions you're going to ask the prospective client, Teresa, with the idea of the answer is going to be very helpful in planning out where we're going.
Well, you definitely need to know what led to the client coming to see me. Obviously, is this something that the two of them have been talking about?
Okay.
What is their relationship like? Do they have the ability to communicate? Is it a situation where the bills are still being paid? The client has access to funds? Because sometimes you have a situation where you're talking to a client who is in need of initiating a divorce rather than a potential disillusioned client because they've been cut off completely from funds.
I see.
And they're worried about feeding their children. Children's another important question.
Say, that's probably a big one.
You've got to know the family situation.
Okay.
Right. Sometimes there have been threats. I mean, is this a situation where the person is afraid? Is there any potential for danger if things escalated in the home to the point where paperwork needs to be prepared quickly? So you've got to know the relationship, what's going on. Are there significant others involved? You just really need to know all of the information about the people involved.
So this initial contact's pretty important. Our profession, and I've obviously had family lawyers like you on as we do today, of course, and we've had Judge Kovac on, domestic law judge, but even in criminal law and probate law, lawyers always seem to meet people at somewhat of their worst times. Probate law, somebody has passed away.
Right.
Criminal law is pretty self-explanatory. This doesn't go too well for the defense attorney. Somebody might be going to jail, i.e. the client. Right. Okay, so appreciating the fact that we got some really raw emotions here. How do you do this? I mean, do you set, well, okay, 45 minutes this afternoon, or you just basically block out the afternoon and say, well, come on in and we'll talk? Well,
usually, you know, I like to think that it's going to be approximately an hour initial consultation, but it really depends. You can't really be sure. And then, you know, I'm always prepared to set that next appointment based on how that initial meeting goes. Because you'll have clients, obviously, you're going to need to have not only the people part of the information down, but you're going to need to gather all of the other information, such as all of the financial documentation and the liabilities. You know, what are the bills?
So you're sort of instructing your prospective clients here, I'm going to need this, and this.
Absolutely. Absolutely. If they haven't brought that to me the first time, and then this is, of course, if they want to proceed and retain me, then they will have definite instructions on what they need to bring back. And, you know, depending on the, immediate need, if there is an immediate need, based on the information that I've obtained, that'll decide, are they coming back in the very next day? Are they coming in later that week? Is it something that they were just gathering information? Obviously, in that initial consultation, I'm going to explain to them the process. What happens? What is a divorce? What is a dissolution? What kinds of things? Okay, so you pretty much lay it all out. Right. How about this one? You asked let's just say it happens to be a lady, does your husband have an attorney? And she answers in the affirmative, yes, she has Mr. So-and-so. Does that mean, Teresa, that any dialogue you have with the husband will have to go through that attorney? Yes, if the husband is represented by counsel, and again, it would depend on what if I was told that her husband was represented by an attorney, then I would anticipate, if she hasn't been served yet with a complaint for divorce, that she would be, unless what she said was, we are planning to proceed with the dissolution, we're in agreement on everything, he's already brought all the documents to his attorney, then I would anticipate she's probably going to be receiving a proposed separation agreement.
Okay, all right. Albeit we hear a great deal about the division of property in divorce, the custody of children must be a paramount concern. The parents preparing to end their marriage. Can you explain to us, Teresa, the difference between physical custody and legal custody?
Well, when the parent that has the child at the time has physical custody of the child at that time, so they would be responsible for meeting all of the needs of the children. They're obviously going to be taking care of the children, their education, their health, their medical needs.
So the kids are with them?
They're right. They're physically in their possession.
Okay.
Legal custody, which you don't hear legal custody so much now as we use the term residential parent.
I see.
But if you don't have a shared parenting plan, you will have a parent designated the residential parent and legal custodian of the child. And if that is one parent as opposed to a shared parenting plan, that's the parent that is charged with the care of that child as far as making the medical decisions, the education decisions, all of the responsibilities for that child. That doesn't mean that the other parent is denied access to the child. They're certainly entitled to medical records and access to school records and the right to participate.
You know, so here, hearkening back to my first question there, I mean, things that you're going to find out. Is your prospective client at home, or what was the home? Well, it's still a home with children, or did he or she leave?
Absolutely.
And the other spouse has, because that's going to have a huge impact here.
Oh, when there are children involved, that's
it, huh?
That's the biggest thing you need to find out in the living arrangements.
So now we know what, good job, physical custody and legal custody is, but now then we got this, I don't know if I call it a new one, but we have this other one called joint custody. What's that? That
is shared parenting. It's called shared parenting now. And that's when both parents are actually residential parents of the children. However, one would have to be designated as the residential parent for school purposes. So one person has to be, they sometimes live in the same school district. And sometimes in a shared parenting plan, the parties will agree on a specific school district rather than mom or dad as residential parent for school purposes, because they want to keep the children in the same district. But in a shared parenting plan, for all purposes, the parents are equal parents to the children.
Sounds like there must be some degree of agreement here.
Well, sometimes, and there are a lot of times shared parenting is agreed upon by the parties, and they are able to reach that determination that it's in the best interest of their children. But the court is also able to make the decision that a shared parenting plan is in the best interest of the children.
That was the second part of my question. Who determines which arrangement is best? So the court, again, best interest of the child standard. Can the court actually order a shared parenting?
The court has to make there's specific factors that the court has to consider in determining whether or not shared parenting is in the best interest of the children. But yes, the court can.
Of course, you have your person in your office saying, yeah, Teresa, we can do this. This is great. And your colleague has got the guy down the street and, oh yeah, Mr. So-and-so, this is great. But the obvious question is, if you two could have gotten along with each other, might not even be here today. So joint custody could get...
Well, a lot of times in a divorce case, it will start out where the parties, they can't agree on anything. But by the time you get to the end, things have simmered down. And to the credit of a lot of couples that divorce, when it comes to their children, not always, I mean, it isn't always the case, but a lot of times they are able to do what is best for their children.
Well, that's a good thing to hear, actually.
Right.
That's why one of these things take a little while to, you know,
It-
time is sort of a healer in here as well. So
It is, and
Okay.
it often does work that way.
here's a little bit of Latin for you, my friend. What's a guardian ad litem?
A guardian ad litem is a person that is appointed by the court to represent the best interest of the children.
I thought you were supposed to do that as the attorney.
Well, in Medina County, the guardian ad litems are attorneys. So the
yeah,
guardians
but
ad litem
I
rather are
thought
attorneys.
you representing Mrs. X, but you're saying that the kid has a right to his own legal representation?
Yes, yes.
Oh.
I thought you were talking about a specific case. You're
No,
talking
no,
about the
no.
attorney representing the children.
No, I mean,
Got me a little confused there.
Well, I'm sorry. But guardian ad litem, though, so we have Teresa representing Mrs. X, lawyer B representing Mr. X, but somehow the child is permitted legal representation, and that's an appointment made by the judge?
Well, the court can, on its own, appoint a guardian ad litem, or either parent can file a motion requesting a guardian ad litem. And when that happens, typically, when in a divorce case, when the parties don't agree on what it is they're requesting
Yeah, sure.
as far as shared parenting, or both parents are saying, I want to be the residential parent and legal custodian of the children. When there's a conflict there and the court finds that it's necessary to have a guardian ad litem in the case, because the guardian ad litem will perform an investigation. They'll interview the children, they'll interview teachers.
So it's like wearing different hats. When you get picked, I guess you have been a guardian ad litem.
Yes, I have.
Some judge selected you because obviously he thought you'd do a good job at it. But you're not really representing one side or the other. You're not your typical divorce lawyer. You're trying to figure out, look, there's going to be a report generated that's what I think, independent account of this, is in the best interest of this child, right?
Right. Your focus is solely on making a recommendation of what's in the best interest
Okay,
of the
so
children.
you're not an advocate for either mom or dad then?
Oh, absolutely not.
Okay, judge picked you for this. Somebody's going to have to pay for this, though.
Yes, that's true as well. In a divorce case, the parties pay for that.
All right, okay. Oh, all right. So at some point in time, you see this coming, you have a heart-to-heart with your client, says, not going. I think, I guess you could recommend maybe a guardian ad litem would be in the best interest. You have no say as a divorce lawyer who that's going to be.
Oh, no,
What do you
don't.
do, just file a motion with the court then?
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
and then there's a hearing, and you make your case, and the other guy makes his case, and if the judge agrees, she'll say, well, it's X number of dollars, and this is what we're going to do.
Right. And if your client really agrees that the children need to have a guardian ad litem because for whatever is going on in the home,
Sure,
or
sure.
you know, it needs, if there's complications in the case and
Yeah.
custody of the children is an issue.
Well, I can imagine somebody with your background would make a great guardian ad litem because you understand the whole process.
Well, thank you. I'd
Well,
like to think so, but
Well, I'm sure the judge wouldn't pick you under those circumstances.
well, what I wanted to add there, though, is that also you can file a motion for an in-camera interview with the children, so that's an option as well.
What's in camera?
Well, the magistrate or the judge would interview the children
Oh,
in chambers,
that's what's called in camera.
Right.
Oh, all right, in camera. Okay.
so that's an option as well.
And the kids get to talk out
Yes.
of the atmosphere of the.
Right, because what
parties.
you don't ever want to have children in a courtroom with their parents.
Sure.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. There's something, Teresa, called standard visitation. What does that mean?
Well, every court, every domestic court, domestic relations court, and juvenile court has a standard order of visitation. Medina County has their standard order of parenting time. It's for situations where the parents cannot agree on a schedule. So typically, what you'll find is parties can sometimes agree. So in a dissolution, or in the separation
Yeah,
agreement, or the shared parenting plan, you'll see language like the mother or father will have parenting time with the children as the parties agree. But if the parties are unable to agree, then according to the standard order of parenting time.
So it's one of those decisions that the court's going to make.
And it specifically sets forth the schedule, and it also addresses holidays, days of special
Yeah.
meaning, vacations, summer vacation.
So this is the one where the court will say every other weekend?
Medina's, for example, does it varies according to the age
Really?
of the children. So, but say, for example, a child above the age of 5.
Yeah.
And in your example, it was dad. It could be mom as well.
Yeah, sure.
The parent would have parenting time with the children from Friday to Sunday, from 6 o'clock p.m. on Friday to Sunday at 6 o'clock p.m. every other weekend, and then a midweek visit. And if they can't agree on that, it's Wednesday
after school
from
or
5
something?
to 8. Well, it's 5 to 8 if they can't agree.
Oh, okay.
Right.
So that's standard visitation.
But it's more than that as far as days of special meaning, vacations.
Yeah, I imagine there's more to it than that.
all
but,
of the things that they
But
might
when we
not-
can't get
not
an
agree.
agreement, there's a policy or
Right.
there's a rule, a
Right.
standard that the court says. Does the judge ever bar parents from visitation with their own children?
In limited situations, yes, and that would be in extreme cases where.
What would, give me an example. I mean, that is extreme. I mean,
Well,
what would be something that a judge said, I'm
Well, you
sorry,
may-
you're not getting near these kids?
well, you may have a case where a parent has abused the children.
Oh, okay. That's a, yeah.
Right, if the child is a victim of abuse at the
Sure.
hand of the parent, any number of things, and it could be for a limited period of time. There may be something going on that it may not be. It may be a temporary, and
Sure,
probably
sure.
would be temporary. Maybe a graduated period
Okay.
of time where it's.
So the thrust of the question is, though, domestic relations judges have tough jobs, and that's
Yes, they
obviously
do.
one of
Yes, they
them,
do.
having to make the call that says, I'm sorry, Dad or Mom, but you're not getting near that kid until I either tell you to or certain things happen.
Right,
And-
and that's what it would be.
Okay. Do children ever get the opportunity, Teresa, to pick which parent they want to live with?
Well, and if the children had a guardian ad litem appointed, that's one
Yeah.
of the things that a guardian ad litem would be inquiring about. Is what is the children's preference if they're old enough and possess that reasoning ability
Sure.
that they could actually make a choice. And it's not the only factor that the court would consider.
No,
so.
but that's a pretty good filter, though. I mean, any kid on any given day could get, you're a parent and I'm a parent. I mean,
Sure.
Our kids have been known to get mad at us for one reason or another.
Right.
Okay. And on that day, I want to go live with Dad, okay.
Right.
But, I mean, if you filter it through a guardian ad litem, this person's sort of worth his weight in gold at that point in time because he or she, probably somebody like yourself who's seen a whole lot of this, weighs it back and forth, says, I know what he's saying today, but when you look at the big picture,
Right.
yeah, okay. But the kids aren't totally left out. I mean, they're gonna get to tell their story to somebody. I mean,
Right, if the kids are old enough and able and
sure.
capable.
This is
of making
one
it.
that probably, I notice you don't have any gray hair, and I'm sure you'll never get any. But
Oh, I do. I do.
I think this would give lawyers gray hair. But what happens if, after you do all of this, I mean, you represent your client, you go through the process, a decision is rendered. Okay, fine. We have agreed on this visitation. You're going to have the children to mom's. They're going to pick the kids up at mom's house at 5 o'clock on Friday. You'll have them back there Sunday night or Monday morning. Bring them to school. Whatever. It's all worked out. Not
Right.
standard. It's agreed. Okay.
Right.
Okay, and somebody don't do it.
Well, and if they are not following the court order,
Yeah.
they are violating a court order, what could happen is the other party could file a motion to show cause
Yeah.
and request a hearing, and the parent who's violating the court order would receive a summons and an order to appear, and there would be a hearing where.
So when we talk about a court maintaining jurisdiction, independency of this thing running, if somebody files a motion or there is an alleged violation, the judge is back into the mix.
With children, the court always has
Really?
maintains jurisdiction
Okay.
over the case while
Until
they're
they reach
still
age
right.
majority. I
Right,
see.
and
The
so
reason-
it,
go ahead,
and so
go ahead.
that person could be held in contempt of court and
Yeah,
be subject to fines.
Well, I
and
figured
jail
I figured they'd
sentence.
be something for them. You don't do what
Right.
the judge says, you're going to get yourself in a world of hurt. I guess I was looking at it more from your point of view. It's 4:30 on Friday afternoon, kind of like it is right now. you're sort of packing up. You kind of like to see your own children. You haven't seen them in a week or so. Maybe visit with your husband a little bit. And the secretary says, Miss Barrington, there's a phone call for you. It's Mr. Celebrezzi. Teresa, she didn't bring those kids here. I mean, you know, what are you going to do? That's a real good question. What are you going to do at 4:30 on a Friday afternoon? I mean,
well, there's really nothing you can do at 4:30 on an afternoon legally. I mean, as far as the court is concerned.
Well, that's when you're going to get the call.
Oh, and that's when you do get the call, or you know, around weekends, holidays.
Yeah.
Sure. Well, you know, you have situations where they can have their court order. You'll have parties where they'll get the police involved. They'll bring the police to the home and try to get the children. You try to really reason with the client if it's something, you know, if the children were just supposed to be brought then, you know, there may be some reasons, some circumstances that make that not unreasonable. Something may have happened.
Sure.
And so you try to talk to the client to find out, I mean, you hope that there's some communication from the other party, and it's a case-by-case basis.
Well, I think, you know,
because
the gist of it, I mean, that's the lawyers are called attorneys, are also called counselors. And by the time you've worked with me through maybe years of this, you're still my lawyer, and I have faith in you, and you say, okay, John, just settle down now.
Right.
Come Monday, if we don't sort this out, I'll file a motion, and you know, when it's set for hearing, it's set for hearing. It's not going to be at the drop of the hat.
Right.
It does raise one other question, though. Do I have to pay for that?
For that call?
No, well, filing a motion. I mean,
the other
guy didn't do what he was. The guy didn't do what he was supposed to do.
Right, but in that motion, if it comes to that point, because I'm going to want to know all the facts and circumstances giving rise to the children not being returned.
Yeah.
Because I'm going to direct the client to gather certain bits of information.
Okay. All right.
Monday, as you just said, it could be a totally different story. They might be returned just late.
But if you have to file the motion, it's on my dime.
You're going to have to pay the filing fee, but you're going to ask for court costs and filing fee and attorney fees rather.
Okay, so if we win, I'll get reimbursed.
Because if that person is indeed in contempt of court and it's something that necessitated filing that, you're going to ask for that.
Well, that person will be having an interesting discussion
but
with
it's not something that you want to file.
No, I guess not, but I can see where you know, when it was all said and done and you thought the Celebrezzi divorce is over, and you get that call at the end of the week, and here we go again. I mean, and I guess as long as there are children on board, this could happen.
Right. Well, and what I meant when I said you're not going to want to file, you're not going to want to file until you're going to want to talk to your attorney and get advice, because it's going to really depend on how it happened.
Other than practicing family law, and divorce being one aspect of family law, I know you do some guardianships and you've been guardian ad litem, things that we touched on. Do you practice any other type of law?
I do a fair amount of probate work, estate planning. I've done a lot of criminal.
Oh, okay. So you've done it all, huh? Of course, you've been practicing for quite a few years, 15 years. So.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
And right now you are with a firm, right?
Yes, I am. I am at the Marco & Marco firm.
Previous to that, though, you actually were a magistrate at one time in your life, weren't you?
Yes, I was at the juvenile court in Medina.
Comments made by John's guest on Law Talk are solely those of his guest and do not necessarily reflect the views of Celebrezzi Zangi Community Legal Education Project. To view this show and others, go to www.czclep.org. In the Wandsworth area, a complete listing of dates and times of this broadcast, tune in to WCTV Channel 15 or log on to wadsworthcity.com and follow the links to WCTV. At CZClep, we're devoted to the education of today's legal issues. Fueled by the public's keen interest in our legal system and current events, CZClep is dedicated to the educational venues aimed at enhancing the understanding by all citizens, regardless of age, education, occupation, or wealth. A function of the Celebrezzi Zangi Community Legal Education Project.